The hard up chopper Outlaw frame, easily identifiable with its gooseneck down tubes. Standard, it's longer than the other frames. So for the taller guys, taller builds that we do, they tend to go with the Outlaw because it is longer and it works better like that. It's all coded welding. This one's MIG'd, but we can do TIG. We use 1¼ inch, 1.5 tube, 12 gauge all the way through with laser cut gusset plates and axle plates. It's worth knowing that on all our frames the distance between axle plates is 280mm, which means your standard donor bike rear axle will not fit, but we supply and we can have a rear axle which is 20mm, so it will fit all Japanese wheels. We can do Harley stuff if needed, so just worth bearing in mind. So if struggling, we do an axle plate for it. The best thing I think about this frame, which really works well, and this is why it was designed like this and this is how it sits like this, is because our tanks, stretch steadies are made to suit, so you can see how it all blends in, how it sits. We can either go high, low, depending on where the customer wants it, or just put the tags and you can come back or put a separate tank on, but that does work very well with it. We've also got, as with all our frames, you can get electric box to suit this, battery box, forward controls, mid controls. We do seat systems from twin airbag, twin spring, twin shock, depending on what look you want and how you want it to ride, really. The headstock angle is 32 degrees on this one, which we find works very well, and it sits right as well, because this will sit 6-7 inches off the ground. So again, you can use whatever donor engine you want, really, to a degree. You can use the standard headers, so the headers will run underneath the bike, so you haven't got to get a set made up or have to fuck about with anything. That wouldn't be right. As you're a bit closer, you can see the quality of the coded welding by the TIG, who you might have seen on some of the other videos that we've put on YouTube. Our headstock bearing cuts, which you'll get when you order one of our frames. These are for a Bandit, which is pretty standard on most things. These will go straight in with standard bearings. Rear axle plates are laser cut 15mm with adjusters now that we put in. This is a bare frame with no engine mounts in it. We are doing one, again you'll see the build moving forward, that we've been asked to put a modern 2007 Kawasaki ZX-10 engine in one, which fits surprisingly well as it is. We will have to tweak a bit because we've got to deal with airbox covers. It's a fuel injection motor, so it will be trickier to do. But what it does give you, it gives you plenty of space on the front for the radiator, because obviously it's going to be water cooled. So whereas with our knicker dropper and worm burner frames, it's quite tight here to get anything in front because these tubes are further forward, front wheels in the way, so this will just give us a lot more space to deal with what we've got to deal with on the modern engine. But that's another video. We'll stick with this one at the moment. As I say, this is bare, so along with all those accessories, we do a side stand kit, weld on side stand kit, and 2 types of drag pipes for these. We call them Noisy Bastard, but we do another version that is longer but will fit these frames and will fit Bandit engine primarily. We also offer a range of rear fenders, again with fitting kits that we can fit at the time when we make your frame, or you can buy them separately from us, whatever you want to do. The rear brake reaction rod is usually as ugly as sin on any donor bike. Again, we do our own version with tabs, along with the tab for the rear brake master cylinder. oil cooler, or if you're going to put a ZX10 engine in it or such like, radiator tabs. Coils usually mount underneath here, so we'll have tabs on there for that. Rear wheel adjusters comes as standard, and we can do fuel tank, seat system, electric box, battery box. But as I say, as a frame, as it stands, the Outlaw for me is a much better frame, which we can, I wouldn't say better, you've got more options, as I say. So here we have Outlaw frame as a roller for a customer. Now this is running FJ 1200, Yamaha FJ 1200 engine and running gear. It's a popular choice of donor bike because they're still relatively cheap. It's a big engine, as you can see, but we've put engine mounts in for that. These are our forks that we have here, our forks and yoke, so we can build it up so we can tell how it's going to sit. But you can see already the options that this gives you with the gooseneck compared to a worm boner, which we've got here. Now we all know the worm boner sits low, hence the noisy bastard exhausts. You can see the different height that you've got here, so you have still got the option to run standard headers and the rest of the system underneath the bike. But as I say, more importantly for me, you can see how much space you get here. Now that's not so bad when you're dealing with an oil-cooled motor, as the FJ is. But if you want to go water-cooled, you've got a lot more going on here, and in fact we are doing a water-cooled ZX10 engine, 2007 Kawasaki 1000 engine that we're putting in. That will need a radiator in there, and we're going to use the standard headers, but that will be on another video. But again, you can see this is an FJ rear wheel. I don't know if you know anything about an FJ, but the rear brake reaction rod runs all the way down here on the standard frame, and it's probably one of the most ugliest frames as standard that I've ever seen. It really is a ship's anchor. So what we've done on this is we've tricked it up a little bit, and we've put the rear brake reaction rod up here. So a little bit funky. One of our rear fenders fitted, electric box. This is our stretch steady tank, which we fitted on here. Again, you can see how it sits nice and perfectly with those lines. It's just sits perfectly, I think, and I think it's a good tank for this. You couldn't use that tank on that unless you made the frame longer because of the tank. So all in all, it's a nice looking, sits well, nice looking frame.